My mother-in-law looked straight into my eyes and said, "If you have any problem with Shania staying in this house, then you leave. This is still my son's house, and he needs us more than he needs you." There was no hesitation in her voice, nor was she speaking softly. She said this so casually, as if she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. And my husband Kabir, who was just 2 feet away taking a water bottle out of the fridge, didn't say a single word. He just stood there, as if we were discussing a list of vegetables. I still remember how the sunlight coming through the kitchen window was falling on Kabir's face at that time. I neither started crying nor raised my voice. I just said softly, "All right," and walked away from there to the bedroom. Let's go back a little. Kabir's aunt's daughter, Shania, had come to our house about 2 months ago, with 2 large suitcases and a sad story that she had lost her new job and her old flat's lease had ended. She was 28 years old, had recently gone through a bad breakup, and needed a place to stay while she got back on her feet. I understood this because I myself had gone through difficult times in life. I had told Kabir, "Of course, it's only for a few weeks. The guest room is empty. She can stay as long as she wants." But those few weeks had turned into 2 months, and Shania was still there. She had gradually changed the system of my kitchen. She had a favorite mug now, which was actually mine. She had started referring to our house as our place instead of your house. These were small things, things that make you feel like maybe you're overthinking or being paranoid. She had dinner with us every day, went with us to Kabir's parents' house on Sundays, and always sat in the front seat next to Kabir in the car. I never wanted to think badly. For a long time, I tried to see everything as normal, but there was a side of Shania that only came out when Kabir wasn't in the room. That Shania who would take my things without asking and damage them slightly or put them in the wrong place. My jibe folded differently. My expensive face wash found on some other shelf. That Shania who would comment on my cooking with a sympathetic smile, as if she was doing me a favor by telling me the salt was less, and that Shania who would ask Kabir about his day with such tenderness and affection, in a way she had never spoken to me. Kabir didn't think there was anything wrong with this. I had mentioned it twice, and both times he looked at me with eyes that weren't angry, but held no concern either. He just said, "She's going through a very difficult time right now, Neha. I think you're blowing things out of proportion." And maybe I really was doing that. I lived with this question for weeks. Then one evening, I came home a little early from the office. I work in corporate interior design, so I usually get home around 8 p.m. But that day, a client meeting was canceled, and I reached home by 6. As soon as I entered, I was stunned. The living room lights were dim. The two of them were sitting together on the couch. Kabir's hand was near her knee, and Shania was laughing heartily at something, throwing her head back from the bottom of her heart. As soon as the sound of my footsteps was heard, a strange silence fell over the entire room. Maybe it was nothing. Kabir immediately withdrew his hand. Shania sat up straight. Kabir smiled and said, "Hey, you're home early today." He was smiling as if he had done nothing wrong. I smiled back and told him about the canceled meeting. Then I went inside to change my clothes. That night, I couldn't sleep for a long time. I work with spaces and layouts. My entire day is spent looking at building blueprints, finding their flaws, and understanding what is being hidden where. You develop a sense that catches when something is off, when the carpet area doesn't match the square footage written on paper. I'm very skilled at this work, and now I started looking at my own home's layout carefully. I noticed that when the three of us were together, Shania's phone was always face down on the table. I noticed that the conversations between Kabir and her happened in such a perfect rhythm, as if they had practiced beforehand. They knew exactly when to be quiet and how much gap to leave. I noticed that Shania had completely stopped talking about a new flat, And my mother-in-law now said on the phone, "You and Shania come for Sunday dinner," instead of calling both of us. I started noting things down, not in any diary, just in my phone's notes app. I would write the date and what I had seen, exactly the way I keep records of a property I have doubts about. The morning my mother-in-law said those words to me in the kitchen. By that day, I had been silently planning for the past 19 days. I hadn't told anyone about what happened in the kitchen. 2 weeks before that morning, I had already had a meeting with my company's regional director. I had told him that I was thinking of taking a transfer from Mumbai and that I was interested in the senior design lead position vacant in the Hyderabad branch. He had seen me working for the past 4 years. He asked me only 2 questions and said, "Neha, you just tell me the date. I'll get the rest of the paperwork cleared." The thought of Hyderabad had come to my mind before in my life. Exactly 1 year before marrying Kabir, I had received an offer from a big architecture firm there, but I had declined it. Kabir was the reason, although I had never openly admitted it. That night, I looked at the profile of that new Hyderabad assignment again. My mother-in-law's words were echoing in my ears. I applied the very next morning. So that morning, when she told me in the kitchen that they needed Shania more than they needed me, and I said all right, and headed toward the bedroom, I just sat at the edge of the bed, completely silent for a while. Just the way you sit when a very big decision inside you takes its final form. Kabir came upstairs 20 minutes later. He said that his mother didn't mean what she had said. He said that Shania was a bit emotional right now and I should show a bigger heart. He even went so far as to say, "Neha, I wish you would try a little harder to blend in with all of us." I looked at him. I really looked at his face very carefully, the way I hadn't in a long time. I studied each and every expression on his face, the face of a person who was unaware that he was being observed, who thought that what he was saying was absolutely true. He had become so accustomed to this quiet version of me that he had forgotten that I too had my own principles and boundaries. I just said, "I'll try." He let out a sigh of relief, nodded, and went back downstairs. I opened my laptop. There was an email from the Hyderabad team. The second round video interview had been shortlisted for Thursday morning at 11 o'clock. I immediately typed a reply. "Thursday, 11 a.m. works perfectly for me." For the next 2 weeks, I moved around that house exactly the way I always had. I cooked every day, asked Kabir about his office, and endured Shania's little taunts, and her phone always placed face down. I even smiled at the things Kabir said that weren't funny at all, but Shania laughed loudly at them. I was physically present there, standing with everyone with a smiling face, but mentally and emotionally, I had already gone very far away. The final job selection letter arrived on Wednesday. The new position was better, the salary was quite good, and there was a relocation package that covered all my shifting expenses. I accepted the offer that very afternoon. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot of a site visit at that time. When they said "Congratulations, Neha" on the phone, I said, "Thank you, I'm very excited for this new beginning." And I truly was. This surprised me a little myself. I had thought I would feel sad or that I would cry, but I felt very light from inside. I gave myself one more week. During this time, I called my younger sister, who lives in the Gachibowli area of Hyderabad, and had been insisting on calling me there for a long time. I quietly found a good flat online. Not something taken in a hurry, but in a high-rise building, a peaceful apartment from whose balcony a beautiful view of the entire city was visible. With a very calm mind, I separated all my belongings and important documents kept at home. I only took what was mine. I didn't want anything of theirs. Exactly one Sunday before the shifting, I went to Kabir's parents' house for dinner as always. Shania was also with us. My mother-in-law had made that special chicken biryani that she always made when there was a special guest at home or when she wanted to impress someone. My father-in-law asked me about work, and I said everything was going very interestingly, which in a way was true. On the way back home, Kabir held my hand in the car and said, "You seem very happy and peaceful these days." I said, "Yes, I truly feel good." He squeezed my hand a little, and I let him do it. For the rest of the entire way, both of us reached home without a single word. The Thursday morning sun was blazing. Kabir left for his office at his usual 8:30 a.m., and Shania was still asleep. As soon as Kabir's car exited the gate, I called the packers and movers. They arrived right at 9 a.m. with 2 large trucks and 4 boys standing below our building. I had already given them clear instructions. There would be no noise, and only those items would be packed that had red tape on them. All my books, my laptop table, my clothes, my paintings, and all the belongings I had bought with my own money before marriage. Around 10 a.m., when the sound of tape and boxes grew a bit louder, Shania came out of her room rubbing her eyes. There was surprise and a little fear on her face. She asked me, "Neha, what is all this? Where are you taking these things?" I looked at her. I had my tablet in my hand where I was checking the packing list. I smiled very calmly and said, "I'm just doing what your mother said, Shania. Kabir needs you more in this house, so I'm leaving." Her face turned completely pale. She began to stammer. Mom didn't. That wasn't what I meant. Does Kabir know?" I said, "No, Kabir doesn't know, but he'll find out soon." By 11:30 a.m., the part of the house that was mine was completely empty. Those large empty walls in the corner of the bedroom where my things used to be kept now looked completely desolate. I paid the boys and asked them to head straight to the Hyderabad address. I placed 2 envelopes on the dining table. One was addressed to Kabir, in which I had kept the papers of all the properties and bank accounts we had shared, and along with them, the divorce papers, on which my signatures had already been civilly submitted through a corporate lawyer. The second envelope was addressed to my mother-in-law, in which I had placed all the kitchen keys she had given me on the first day of my marriage. I picked up my handbag, took the car keys, and stood near the main door of the house. Shania was still standing in the corner of the living room, trembling as she watched me. She couldn't understand what she would tell Kabir, or how she would handle all this. I opened the door, turned back to look at the house one last time, and said softly, "This space is yours now, Shania. Lay out it well." I closed the door and came downstairs. When I was on the expressway heading toward Hyderabad, Kabir's call came at 2:30 p.m. I turned on the car's Bluetooth and answered the call. His anger, his fear, and his panic were clearly audible through the phone speaker. "Neha, what kind of joke is this? Where have you gone with all the things from the house? Shania is crying, Mom is worried. Why did you leave divorce papers? Have you gone mad?" He was speaking continuously without taking a breath. I slowed the car a little and said very calmly, "Kabir, I haven't gone mad. I've just cleared the space. Your mother told me last month in the kitchen that if I had a problem, I should leave. She said that Shania needs you more than I do." I took her words very seriously. "Mom must have said it in anger. How can you make such a big decision over such a small thing? Come back, let's sit and talk." There was pleading in his voice now. "This was not a small thing, Kabir," I said, "and neither is this a decision made in anger. I've been planning this for the past month. My transfer to Hyderabad is done, my new job starts Monday, and my flat is ready. Whatever was between us had ended a long time ago. Both of us just needed a shock to accept it. All the papers are signed. Don't try to find me." "Neha, please." He had started crying. "Goodbye, Kabir. Take care of your new family," I said, and cut the call. After that, I blocked his number, his mother's number, and Shania's number forever. It was 7 p.m. in the evening when I stepped onto the balcony of my new apartment in Hyderabad. From the 24th floor, the lights of the entire city ahead were shining like stars in the sky. The cool breeze was hitting my face. My younger sister was making tea for me in the kitchen and calling out from there, "Didi, Your new sofa will look absolutely perfect near this wall. I smiled, took the cup of tea, and began looking at the view outside. For the first time, after many years, I felt like I was in a place that was completely mine, where the layout, the walls, and the silence were decided solely and entirely by my own will. I was free, and this peace was beyond words.